Welcome to the Killer Innovation Show, the longest continuously produced podcast in history. Each week, Phil McKinney brings you the insights and strategies to amplify your creativity and innovation skills. Here's your host, Phil McKinney.
Welcome to this week's show. If I ask you what first thing that pops into your head when I say the word design, what is it? Is it the design of the car you're driving around in? Is it the design of your mobile phone that you are fiddling with while trying to listen to the podcast this week? Is it design of your furniture in your apartment or your home? What is it? When you hear the word design, what's the first thing that pops into your mind? Now, design has played a role in our lives literally for years, for our entire lifetimes, for literally generations, if not centuries. Now, originally design was the term used for art. Does it look pretty? Is it something that catches the eye? Does it have a certain look? What we're going to talk about today is innovating with design. Innovating more specifically with design thinking. Design thinking is not constrained by does it look pretty or does it catch the eye, but it is around innovating with design thinking. Can I integrate the design, meeting the user's needs, fitting into their environment, fitting into their behavior in such a way that whatever it is I'm building, a product, a service, an online experience, is so much better than just getting the functionality right. Weaving in design thinking, the iterative approach to design thinking can unlock market potentials that are untouchable through most any other innovation approach out there. So today we're going to spend the entire time talking about innovating with design thinking. And we talked through the skill sets required. We talked through a couple of the different approaches and methodologies. And I share with you a couple of areas where I think some design thinking should be applied to come up with some new solutions. And so you want to check that out. Who knows, maybe something in there will spark an idea for you. Before we hop into this week's episode, got that favor to ask. Follow, like, and share. Follow us on social media. Like the show so people find out about it. And share it with others. And with that, without any further ado, let's jump in to this week's episode. Design plays a vital role in our lives and has for centuries. The term design has evolved over time. Originally, design referred to the act of designing or planning something. In the early 1800s, they used the term design as a synonym for art, which is still today's probably most common use. However, in the late 1900s, the design term was used to refer to creating products or services. You design this new product. You design this new service. Now, there are different types of design, but one of the most famous is Bauhaus design. Bauhaus design is a modernist movement that started in Germany in 1919. It was focused on unifying art and technology. The Bauhaus school, believed that design should be accessible to everyone and that mass production was key to making design affordable. Now, the school closed in 1933, but its legacy has continued to influence design for decades. Now, over the years, there have been many design movements and their followers. And rather than treating design as a specialized field tied to a specific design movement, design thinking takes a more holistic approach. It's a way of thinking that considers the entire design process from start to finish. We have used design thinking in business, technology, and product design, but it can apply to any problem that needs an approach to creative problem solving. So what is design thinking? Design thinking is a design process that allows for the design of products and services and environments to be developed in an iterative design cycle with continuous feedback from all the stakeholders, especially the end users. Designers and innovators use this process to create innovative solutions within constraints such as cost, time, performance requirements, cost to manufacture, regulations. It also focuses on a user-centric approach to designing for people's needs and their behaviors. Design thinking has its roots in design and engineering, but it has been adapted to use in other fields such as business, education, psychology, and one that we see very prevalent these days, user experience design. Now, the design thinking methodology, there's lots of them out there, but we're going to talk about it in a general context. The approach is a structured process for solving problems that entails breaking the problem down into smaller parts and then innovating creative ideas for each. One way to break a problem down into smaller parts is to look at it from different angles, look at it from different perspectives. Another way is to divide the problem into smaller pieces and then iterate to break it down to even smaller parts. Then you can more easily come up with potential solutions. The core philosophy of design thinking is to come up with creative solutions that focus on the user or customer and designed for their needs and behaviors. This means that designers and innovators must constantly test. This is a non-stop process and iterate those designs with the feedback that they're getting from the customer. This feedback is essential to the design process as it allows the designers to improve their solutions. So why do we need a design thinking process in innovation? We've been talking about innovation for centuries. Why design thinking? Now, one reason design thinking is so important is that it focuses on designing products, services, and environments that are user-friendly and meet the needs of those who will use them. Typically, when we think about design, the product is built, then it's designed. Or as I like to say, you're trying to put lipstick on a pig. Now, it isn't just about the design or the aesthetics. It is overall, how is this product or service going to integrate into the user's life? Design thinking also considers the fact that there are some design constraints that can change over time. So it can be an adaptable process that can design for changing needs. Another reason the design thinking process is important is that it is a creative process. It allows designers to generate new ideas and find innovative solutions to problems. And this is essential in today's fast-paced, ever-changing world where businesses need to constantly be innovating in order to stay ahead of the competition. It's not about having one methodology, whether you use the FIRE framework, FIRE methodology that I talked about for a long time, you use design think. There's literally hundreds. Learn a lot of them, try them out, practice them, find the ones that work, build up your innovation toolkit. Now, design thinking is important for innovation because, again, it is user-centered, it is adaptable, and it is creative. It stretches a different kind of creative muscle, therefore opening and exposing you to new and different ideas that a different framework or a different methodology would do. Now, by using design thinking, businesses can create products, services, and environments that are user-friendly and that in particularly are tightly tuned with that constant testing, feedback, adapting the design. You can create finely tuned products and services and experiences for that specific target user. Now, additionally, design thinking allows businesses to be more innovative, coming up with new solutions because, again, it forces you to look at the problem differently than other frameworks, other methodologies, other approaches to creativity. Now, one of the key elements of design thinking that you can find very, very useful is constraint-based innovation. Design thinking is a process that helps you designers create solutions by applying the realism of constraints. Constraints can be anything from time limits and financial restrictions to design parameters and user feedback. The most common constraints are time, money, resources, people, supply chain, manufacturing facilities, distribution. Those are the most common, but not the exclusive constraints that you may apply. The challenge is to balance these constraints while still being creative and finding the best possible solution to the problem within the constraints. This is where design thinking really shines. Design thinking helps you find creative solutions that are economically viable, workable, and desirable. A lot of times when people just blanketly apply constraint-based innovation, they focus on the constraints such as finances and how much the product costs, and they don't constrain it with it needs to have some design elements to it. So with design thinking, it's all integrated. So you create, for instance, a product that would be economically viable, workable, meaning it fulfills the function, and it is still desirable. Solving for constraints is an iterative process. You start with an idea, then you design it, and you test it. After that, you refine the design based on feedback until you have a final product. It's that iterative feedback, adjust the design, test. Feedback, iterate the design, test. This process of this design, testing, and refinement is called the design thinking cycle. The design thinking cycle helps you to quickly and efficiently find the best possible solution to a problem. It's a great tool for anyone who needs to be innovative, whether you're a designer, an engineer, or an entrepreneur. While it's called design thinking, it is not tied specifically to what you typically think of as design. Now, in order to be able to do a design thinking approach, you need to have, one, some level of creative confidence, but you also need that combined with several skills. The most important of these skills are ones like, one, creativity. Creativity is essential to design thinking because it allows designers to come up with new ideas, find innovative solutions to problems. Designers need to be able to think outside the box and come up with solutions that are practical and achievable. Design thinking will stretch your creative muscle in new directions. Number two, you need to have the skill of problem solving. Now, problem solving is that ability to identify and solve problems, things you can't anticipate, but when you see it, you solve it. The design thinking approach is based on the idea that there is no one right solution to a problem, and that it's important to come up with multiple possible solutions. This means that designers need to be good at identifying problems, brainstorming potential solutions, and then iterating and testing them and see which one is best. Third skill, critical thinking. Critical thinking is that ability to analyze a situation and make a judgment about it. Now, in design thinking, critical thinking is important for evaluating ideas and solutions. As you are creating a bunch of solutions, you need to think critically in order to determine which of the ideas are the best and which solutions are the most practical. Number four, collaboration. That collaboration is that ability to work with others to achieve a common goal. In design thinking, collaboration is essential, absolutely essential, for coming up with new ideas and solutions. Designers need to be able to work together and also work with others, such as the engineers and manufacturing, sales, marketing, to include their feedback as part of those stakeholders to create the optimal product, service, or experience. The fifth skill, communication. Communication allows designers to share their ideas with others and get feedback. Just holding it to yourself or just thinking a pretty picture is going to do it isn't going to cut it. Designers need to be able to communicate effectively in order to share their ideas, get that feedback, and collaborate effectively. Communication is also important for explaining design ideas to stakeholders and to get approval. Now, design thinking has been applied to a wide range of areas. Now, I've been working on a number of programs and projects using design thinking methodologies, and I am always amazed at areas that you typically, or a lot of people, would not think of using design thinking is the perfect tool. When I'm helping companies and I suggest using a design thinking methodology, their immediate reaction is, well, we're not designing anything. We're not designing a new mobile phone or a new laptop or a new widget. We don't need design. We don't, and they misunderstand that concept, that word of design. Now, design innovation is important for businesses just as much as it is for products and services. And it's a tool that allows for businesses to stay competitive and, most importantly, meet the needs of the customers. And design innovation is also uniquely skilled at opening up your eyes to new ideas that other methodologies and approaches have never thought of. So what are some of these opportunities? What are some areas, some examples of using design thinking that will cause you to stretch a little bit and think about design thinking beyond just simply where you typically will slot it in as a tool? First up, healthcare. Healthcare is in a drastic need of innovation and design thinking in particular. I don't know when's the last time you were in a hospital, you or a loved one was in a hospital, but think about that overall experience of getting in, registering, giving all this information, providing your insurance information or your health ID number if you were in a country with national health. That whole experience is pretty horrendous. And then you're in the hospital or you're getting test results or whatever, and it feels like you're just running a gauntlet, trying to understand and really appreciate what is involved. And then there's the whole issue of the environment. What does it feel like? It's pretty sterile and antiseptic, not feeling very much like home. You know you're in a strange, it almost gives you an uncomfortable feeling. Now, there have been a number of organizations, most specifically Mayo Clinic, that have been for years with their innovation teams rethinking that whole hospital experience, the experience of going to a Mayo facility for your annual physical, or you're going there to see a specialist because of a unique condition, or you're being admitted for a procedure. And they've redesigned their campuses and they've designed new campuses. And in fact, Mayo is under development now for the new hospital of the future at their main facility in Rochester, Minnesota. And part of that healthcare design, this design innovation for them, is about improving patient safety, increasing access to care, while reducing the cost of healthcare. So applying design innovation, design thinking, giving the constraints of I want to improve patient safety, increase access to care while reducing cost. And all of that is wrapped in the context of a better designed experience, a better experience from the space, from the facility, from the campus. Again, design thinking applied to something that you just normally wouldn't think about. The second example I want to talk about is education. Classrooms haven't changed a whole lot. Maybe a teacher puts the chairs in a circle versus in rows, or they get rid of the desks and everybody sits on beanbags. Okay, interesting, but does that really have any kind of a design thinking approach to it. Education is in drastic need of change. How do we improve the student learning? How do we give them an environment, give them everything from designing the experience to designing the learning methodologies to designing the environments to designing team experiences that they're going to experience when they graduate and they're in the work world. So in education, how do you make that learning more accessible, more fun? And at the same time, can you help reduce the cost of education? Can you improve applying design thinking, improve the learning experience, improve the environment, improve the excitement and the interest of the students to want to learn, while also reducing the cost? What is spent on a cost per child for education? It's not ever ending. And in fact, what is interesting, if you look at recent statistics, the cost to educate goes up. And if you are somebody who believes in test scores, the test scores have gotten worse. So you're spending more, but getting a worse result. That tells you something. It's an opportunity. And I think bringing design thinking methodologies into education could be one way to unlock what is going on. A third area that I think design thinking should be applied to is transportation. Transportation is a challenge. Public transportation, I grew up in the city of Chicago, which has an incredibly strong, great public transportation system. It's how everybody gets around. And in fact, inside the city of Chicago, most high school kids do not have driver's license because they really don't need it. The train systems, the subway systems work great. And so therefore that applies. But once you get outside the city limits, it totally falls apart. Now we've got new approaches with autonomous vehicles. Are you ever going to need to own a car in the future, or do you just schedule a car to pick you up, take you to work? There's no driver. It's fully autonomous, like what Cruise is doing now in San Francisco, and off you go. So transportation, I think, is an opportunity to really think about, is there a way to improve safety, reduce congestion, while increasing efficiency, use of assets? If you think about how often your car is sitting parked, or in our case, two cars sitting in the garage here at the house, do I really need that? Or if I'm given how little I drive when I'm here in Colorado, do I just use the vehicle when I need it and not own one as an asset? So again, improve safety, reduce congestion, and increase efficiency, particularly efficiency of resources. Transportation design has a huge impact on the world. And I think it's one of those steps that could have a big impact, positive change on the environment, on people's lives, on the cost to get around to be productive, allowing people to get access to employment where today they're highly constrained because of the lack of availability of consistent and reliable transportation. In the fourth area, technology. Now, many of you are going to say, okay, it's a logical one for you, Phil, because you were the CTO at Hewlett Packard. Well, I think it has been something that's been applied before, but I think even in today's world, human-centered design still needs to be applied in many cases. One of the main goals for design thinking is human-centered design. Driving up that usability and the ease of use and the learnability, the natural learnability. Really good design thinking, really good design is that doesn't need a manual. It fits in and integrates into how people think, how people operate. Now, the perfect example of this is my wife, who is about as far from the tech curve as I am. She is a Luddite. She's at the exact opposite end of the curve from me. Now, things that seem logical to me are totally illogical for her. And I've learned over the years to listen closely to her feedback when things are confusing and things are not working. Back in my HP days, I used to do what was called the Michelle test. Technology's new product would come home, and my wife would be the tester. If she could not figure out how to use it, how to set it up, how to operate it, that product did not ship. We as particularly those of us in the tech world, we think if we design it for ourselves, then everybody can use it. Guess what? We are not a proxy. The question I always ask the engineering teams and the design teams have been, will this play in Iowa? Not that people from Iowa are any less smart, but they're outside the Silicon Valley bubble. They're out of the Austin, Texas bubble. They're out of the Boulder, Colorado bubble. They're out of the Seattle bubble, where we think everybody and all of our neighbors are just like us. Go to Ames, Iowa. They're completely different. Will this design, will this product, this service, this environment play in Iowa? And again, a design that is easy to use and learn will be more successful, much more successful, than a design that is difficult to use or to understand. And again, if you do good design in technology, its aim should be to increase functionality. And remember, functionality is the ability of a design to perform its intended purpose. People always talk about the fact that people only use 2% of all the features in Excel, 5% of all the features that in Word, right? Why is that? Because of lack of functionality, lack of good design to allow people to take advantage of all that functionality. Now, design thinking has been around for a long time, but it's become more popular in recent years because of the rise in digital technologies. The future of design thinking is the work of thought leaders to expand and enhance the tools and methods used in design thinking. And in the end, this introduction of new tools, new design tools, new ways of testing has just absolutely exploded. One of the most popular methods is called the double diamond model. This model guides you through the process of brainstorming to come up with ideas and then to test them. And another approach to design thinking is a method created by Tim Brown, which is called the 5 stages of design thinking. This method helps you to understand the problem, come up with ideas, prototype those ideas, choose the best one, and test it. Now, there are literally hundreds of design thinking. These are just 2 of the most popular. And when I lived in California, I used to guest lecture at the D school, the design school at Stanford, each semester, talking through this design thinking and innovation topic. We don't have enough time in today's discussion to go into specifically all the details of these 2 frameworks. But if there is interest, I can go into more detail about the different models of design thinking. Just let me know if that would be something you would want to hear about. You can post in the comments, or you can drop me an email. Just hop over to killerinnovations.com. Now, the future of design thinking is continuing to expand and enhance. More people are adopting it. More companies are developing tools. More people are talking about it. There is just an absolute ton of YouTube videos on design thinking. There are books out there on design thinking. I would encourage you to learn the basics of design thinking, try it out on a project, and figure out where you would apply this. Is there a project you currently have that you would want to use a design thinking approach? And again, the construct of design thinking is to do what? Take a problem, take an idea, break it down, down to its absolute basic components, and then find different ways to assemble it back together to a solution and try to come up with different combinations that achieve the objectives under the constraint. It's got to fit within this certain size. It can only cost this much to manufacture. It has to have this kind of capability. It can't weigh more than this many pounds. Whatever the constraints are, and then iterate, test it, show it to customers, get their feedback, go through the process of changing the design, go back out and show it. It's that iterative design thinking cycle that allows you to fine-tune that idea, get it really narrowed down and tight, and then make that product launch. And what I have seen with those organizations that apply a well-structured design thinking approach, particularly with consumer products, if they do the methodology correct, if they are willing to spend that time in that iteration and test, and then get feedback, and then iterate and repeat multiple times, the likelihood of success for that innovation, for that product, that service, that environment, that experience goes up significantly. So find the right project, try it out, see what works, and don't get yourself locked in. Be willing to adjust, be willing to change. There are a variety of different methodologies that fall under design thinking. Figure out the elements that work for the problem or work for your organization, and be willing to try it and experiment. But it is one of those approaches I would encourage you to get out there and try and use, because the results can be unbelievably strong. You can create great breakthrough products. You can achieve financial success, team success, organization success. So get out there, play around, and use design thinking to go off and create that next great idea. So what is the first project you are going to apply design thinking to? What's the first thing that comes to your mind based on what you just heard in the episode that you want to apply to? There's a lot of things out there. I mean, obviously, web design, mobile applications, consumer electronic devices. Those are probably what I would call low-hanging fruit. The ones that most logically you would apply, quote, design to, but it isn't about design. Remember, it's not about the aesthetics. It's not about does it catch the eye. It's using that design thinking, using user-centric design, doing that user feedback, going out there and showing it to them, getting the feedback, iterating the design, going back out and cycling through that repeatedly. So whatever it is you're building, a product, a service, an experience, an online experience, an environment, if you're doing an exhibit, for instance, how do you integrate that design thinking approach to the process of innovation? How does innovating and design thinking come together? And that's where you would apply it. Apply it to something that maybe at first you're kind of going, ooh, I don't think it fits. I think you'd be surprised at how prevalent you can apply design thinking to your range of innovations that you are trying to create out there. So hopefully you found this useful. Open your eyes a little bit on design thinking. I'd love to hear your feedback. As I shared at the beginning, at the end of the main segment, there's a lot of methodologies out there. We can talk about the diamond method or the 5 steps or whatever. If this is a topic, if design thinking is a topic that you think we should dig deeper into and provide more information, maybe do a series on that, let me know. Just drop me a message, phil@killerinnovations.com. Would love to hear your feedback, and we can plan that accordingly. So with that, thanks again for taking the time out of your busy schedule to listen. We've now well into season 18 here at the show, working hard on the shows going into the summer time frame here. I'll be taking a little bit of time off, so I'm building up a little back catalog to make sure that there will be shows throughout the summer. We're not like a lot of the other podcasts out there that, do maybe 20 shows a year and then call it quits for the season. We on average do between 45 and 50 new original episodes every year for the show. And so, stay with us. You can catch up on all your podcasts while you're on holidays. This summer, we will be doing new shows pretty much every week. Won't guarantee it every week because I will be traveling, but we will try to stay on top of it. And with that, thanks again. Appreciate all your support over all the years as we've been producing the podcast. We look forward to hearing your thoughts, your feedback, your questions, or suggested topics that you would want us to cover on upcoming shows. And with that, have a great week. Take that idea, iterate on it, test it with your users, apply your design thinking, and go create an absolutely mind-blowing, great new innovation. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Podcasting nonstop since 2005, this has been the Killer Innovation Show on the Innovators Network.